So, hello and welcome to this week's episode of the Turn 5 podcast. I'm back after being at the Euros last week, and Alex is back as well. I don't know where he was. He was skiving.
I was ill, and the same again this week, but I felt up with it this week.
Just not ill enough to
Not ill
skive
enough.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah, fair enough.
That's
I mean,
not
We're
talk
back up
about
to the
the
Turn
England
5
game.
podcast. The Turn
Yeah.
3 podcast has abruptly died.
It's disgraceful.
And this week we'll be reviewing Formula 1, Formula 3 and W Series at the Austrian Grand Prix. Not the Styrian Grand Prix. That was last week. This week's the Austrian Grand Prix. Same track, different name. Confusing for new fans, I know. One sentence race reviews. Richard, go.
That's how you do tyres.
Okay, Ben,
Austria greater than Styria.
fair. Alex,
Basically stolen mine. Yeah, it wasn't as bad as Styria, but still Red Bull dominance.
I wish it had rained. We were promised rain 2 weekends in a row, and we got no rain. So just, please, can it rain? And Nia,
Unexpected podium coming into the weekend, but also pretty good race.
fair enough.
So creative.
Yeah.
I mean,
I've been struggling for like 10 minutes trying to think of that, okay?
Friday and Saturday practice. Mercedes were looking good on Friday, and then just
didn't.
not on Saturday.
Um,
What I want to know is what changes between those 2 days. Like, how
Yeah.
can you go from looking like the fastest car to being crap?
it's
what it
inverse sandbagging.
Yeah, it feels
Yeah.
like when they're nowhere on Friday, they always actually end up being really quick when it matters. But then obviously the opposite when they top practice for some reason.
Yeah.
Obviously they like to make changes. I would suggest, I guess.
Yeah, it's just a strange one, isn't it?
I mean,
think,
just stop making changes when you're looking quick.
well, they can't even seem to decide if they're upgrading their car or if they've stopped upgrading their car, because one day they release a press statement that says, oh yeah, we're fully focused on 2022, and then 18 hours later we get news from one of the top Mercedes guys that actually, yeah, we're bringing an upgrade package to Silverstone.
I mean, I think if they weren't bringing any upgrade packages, they could kiss the World Championships goodbye.
As far as I'm concerned, I think they already have.
Yeah,
Really?
kind of. Yeah.
I mean, I know the Red Bull Ring is typically a Red Bull track, but
I
given
hope
that this
so.
was the first time that they'd got pole on it, well, the second time now, but you know what I mean. The first year that they managed to get a pole position at their own circuit, it kind of speaks that the Red Bull have taken that next step. They've also completely done Mercedes over at France, which is typically a Mercedes dominated track. So it's not looking great for them. And if they don't upgrade significally, I don't think they're going to claw it back. They got a bit of a reprieve this
we've been
weekend
talking
with Perez doing what he did, but
Yeah. We'll come to the
We've been
stewards
talking about
room
this
a
season,
bit
it's the
later
best
on. But yeah, I don't know. I think that was what, round 8?
9.
9?
9, I think.
So
I
there's
think it was
still 14 to go. So in terms of writing anyone off, I think the only cars we can write off are Haas, Williams, and Alfa Romeo.
Not necessarily Williams, because they did pretty well this weekend.
Yeah, but they're not going to win the World
Yeah.
Championship.
Well, yeah, no, I mean, like, in their own way, if that makes sense. Like Haas, they're not going to do anything special. Williams, maybe.
To be honest, in terms of winning the World Championship, I think you can write off everyone except for Red Bull and Mercedes.
Yeah.
There's
we could get
already a
freak with
101
McLaren,
point gap.
but-
There's already a 101 point gap between McLaren and Mercedes.
Yeah.
So, that's 4 race wins with 1 fastest lap.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, the thing is, we've been talking about this season as the best title battle ever, but that's now five wins in a row for Red Bull at like it was a complete variety of tracks in those 5, and they've not necessarily dominated all of them, but I mean this weekend, both Austria races really, it was, I mean, even by the standards of Mercedes with Hamilton, that was absolute complete domination. And
I feel like the Max was slightly flattered by Lewis being held up by Norris for so long.
Yeah,
maybe
that didn't help.
Oh, yeah.
And
I know-
Lewis had damage, as we know.
Yeah, I'm
Um,
talking like in the first 20 laps before he
yeah.
sustained that damage. But I mean, like, I know Norris was lapping within at some points like 3/10 of Max's times, but the gap was like 21 seconds by the time Lewis managed to get past.
Yeah.
Yeah, Max
So-
really benefited from Lando being in between them both.
So-
even when Mercedes had clear air though, without damage, there was still.
Oh yeah, they were still
several
off the
tenths.
pace, but
Yeah.
I don't think he'd have been that
It wouldn't
far
have
behind.
been that far.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Bear in mind, it's the shortest track though, pretty much as well in terms of lap time.
Yeah,
And it's easy to be on the pace though when you're in clear air for 71 laps.
Yeah,
When you're having to fight for 20 and whatnot, you've killed your tires.
it's just weird though. I don't know what's going on with Mercedes because Toto Wolff's. Well, he seemed a bit, he seemed to lose his head a little bit, didn't he? In the press conference, he was like, "Oh, we're going to win by 30 seconds at Silverstone." Hamilton in his press conference said, "Oh, it's not really going to make any difference to lap time." So, I mean, what is going on with this team?
Toto wants to try and take
Yeah.
it to Christian with his 9 games, but Christian is the seasoned veteran.
Yeah, I mean,
I think Toto saying that he's going to win by 30 seconds is just a bit of. I mean, we want this to happen. We don't necessarily think it'll happen.
If we say it,
want
it'll
it
come
to.
true, right?
Yeah, just
Yeah.
trying to motivate themselves. Like, we said it has to happen.
I mean, what's the weather forecast for Silverstone? Let's
I don't think
find
it's
out.
Probably
I don't think it's
bone
ever
dry.
not rained at some point in the weekend at Silverstone. But
Silverstone weather.
Can we
It
even get
doesn't
a
even
forecast that
matter.
far ahead?
that's true, actually. It doesn't.
Well,
matter
it's
at all.
to rain all week.
Yeah, this is long range forecasting though.
Next 10 days. That's close enough. Saturday the 17th, partly cloudy. Sunday the 18th, partly cloudy.
It won't rain.
So it's not going to rain. We don't even have a forecast for rain.
Unless that's how it rains.
We expect it to be blazing sunshine and it just chucks it down.
Yeah.
Chance of rain, 0%. Real rain.
We're coming to you live from the Great British Monsoon.
Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't mind that. That would lead to an interesting race if it didn't get red flagged.
It would definitely get red flagged
Oh,
if there's
yeah.
a monsoon.
Well, I remember one year. I can't remember what year it was at Silverstone. Like, I was getting sunburnt whilst they were starting behind the safety car because it was so wet on the track, and yeah, it was boiling hot where I was sat.
That's brilliant.
That's classic Silverstone. That, but I think if
But we'll talk about that next
Yeah.
week. This week we're talking about Austria.
Going to Red Bull. Like, just for the race now.
Well, we've got quali to cover,
qualifying.
No quality. Okay.
Q1, Ocon is slow. Q2, poor Fernando, I think.
Q2
Yeah.
meet roadblock.
Yeah. Like, I know everyone was saying George got into Q3 on pure pace.
Had Fernando not been blocked, he wouldn't have been.
Yeah, I was about to say, I
Yeah.
think we do need to remember he didn't really. He got through to Q3 thanks to one Sebastian Vettel.
I mean, yeah, but I suppose at the same time, you take your luck when you can, and you get
Yeah.
your clean air run when you can. So
Yeah, no, definitely. Props to George to get into Q3, but the car isn't where it was.
no, definitely not.
it was on mediums as well in Q2.
Yes.
That was
Yeah, that was good.
bearing in mind, like Vettel, I can't remember who else. A couple of others went through on softs. Gasly,
Yeah.
well, so that's pretty impressive.
Who did start on softs? Because there were the ones Gasly, Tsunoda, and Stroll and Vettel started on softs.
Didn't someone start on the hards, actually?
Science, I think.
Yeah, Sainz started on hards.
Yeah. In terms of starting tyres, we had Verstappen down to Bottas on mediums, Gasly down to Vettel, which is 6th to 9th on softs, Leclerc on mediums, Ricardo on mediums, Russell on mediums, Sainz and Raikkonen on hards, or Raikkonen pitted on hards, sorry. Alonso, Giovinazzi, Schumacher, Latifi, Mazepin, and Ocon all on mediums.
It's basically the ones that just scraped through into Q3 started on softs.
Yeah.
Apart from Russell, yeah.
Yeah.
No, sorry, Raikkonen didn't pit on at the hards. He started on them as well.
And the starting on softs was definitely not the way to go.
No, that was
Those
was
softs
clear.
were not good tyres. Pirelli brought them anyway.
Yes, but at least they brought them because it changed up the strategy that much.
Yeah.
We didn't have a
Copy
very
and paste.
boring one-stop race. We had a one or a two-stop depending. So
Yeah.
thankfully, they did the tires the right way in terms of they were softer, but they didn't explode. So
You
it was
Silverstone.
back
Yeah.
where they went softer, but they couldn't go the distance they said they would. So no, that's what I mean by that's how you do tires, because they were softer, but they still went as far as they were supposed to go. So yeah, it was better in that respect. And I mean, if you did the tire strategy right, you could make the one stop work. And that's what I think a race should be. It should be a dilemma between, do we go for the one stop and slightly compromise our speed, or do we go balls to the wall, flat to the floor, and go for a two stop?
Yeah,
because then it adds a bit of drama, a bit of spice, because there's that uncertainty. Admittedly, not with Max, because he was just that far out in front. He could just make a second stop. But, the midfield, anywhere below that, it was kind of, where's he going to come out? So.
And then Q3, Norris nearly put it on pole.
Wasn't he he was
ahead.
400ths off pole?
He was ahead going into turn 10.
And they had a sap of some sort of steer. I don't know, it was over or under. And he's
over.
He slap of oversteer just behind. It's like, oh.
Imagine it's coming though, and imagine the scenes when he does get a pole.
Imagine the scenes he gets pole at Silverstone.
Yeah, I mean,
I find that one unlikely.
And probably unlikely, but it would be cool.
I was thinking about that, to be fair, and yeah, even if he gets on the podium, I mean, yeah, and or Hamilton winning, obviously, or even George Russell getting in the points.
Let's just have a nice British podium, please. Norris, Russell, Hamilton in that order.
I'm kind of hoping Hamilton win, Norris podium, Russell points is the dream. But so we'll talk about that next week.
But George Russell drives a Williams.
Yes, but
maybe not for long. Who knows?
Yeah, I mean, he's Mercedes contract.
He's absolutely thrashed Latifi in that Williams, though. Like, one of them getting into the top 10 and the other one getting eliminated with the Haas's in Q1.
As much as I like Nicholas, that's not that hard. Compared to your teammate, it's comparing yourself to Latifi. As much as I like Latifi, it's not that hard.
No, I mean, like, it's the same as Mick to Nikita, isn't it?
Yeah.
So that.
But then again,
you look him comprehensively.
In terms of saying that, you look at Q1, Alonso, P3.
Yeah, and I mean, I feel like he
P17.
would have been there. I feel like Alonso would have been there had he not been rolling roadblocked.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was the point that really ruined his weekend. But he was also on a set of softs. So.
And that gave us our first visit to the steward's room for the weekend. Three documents came out after qualifying. One to penalise Seb, which
on
is
his
here.
Birthday.
Document 35. impeding of
great
car 14,
birthday
which is
weekend.
Alonso. It was a slap bang penalty. They couldn't
Yeah.
not penalise Seb. It was just, yeah.
It was, yeah. I understand the penalty that Seb got. It was more the fact that they didn't follow through from the race director's notes and also penalise the drivers in front of him. So
So you mean like this? Let's look at Carlos Sainz. So what the steward said was at the end of Q2, everyone slowed down at the entry of turn 9 to create a gap. And because everyone slowed down, they didn't want to penalise anyone. The end.
yeah, which is just it's creating it's a dangerous approach because it's creating the potential for a mob mentality within the drivers.
Yeah.
If enough of us band together, they won't touch us. We saw it in Baku where Massey told the McLaren guy, "Oh yeah, but everyone was driving too fast." Penalise them all then. Do your job. If 5 cars are not respecting the race director's notes, penalise them. Don't just pick on the guy that happens to be at the back of that queue. Do it evenly. Do it properly. And do it consistently. That's the problem.
In fairness, Seb's penalty is not for not following the race director's notes.
Yeah, Seb's is for blocking.
It's for
Everyone else
blocking.
in front of him should have got a penalty for not following orders. So, because they were explicitly told not to do that there on the track. It was like 24.3 or something.
24.2.
There you go. And they all did it anyway, which shows that they just don't respect the race director's notes at that point. So
Even if they don't penalise all the drivers, they should penalise the one in front who was causing it. Because, like, in the end of the day, it's really his fault that everyone else had to slow down. I'm not sure who was at front. I think it might have been Bottas. I'm not exactly too sure. But they should really penalise the guy in front if they don't penalise everyone else. Because he's the one causing it.
But at the same time, everyone's been told, don't do it there. So if Bottas has done it earlier and then happened to go and someone's come steaming up and then slowed down, it wouldn't be his fault. So I'm saying penalise the ones that have slowed down in that section.
Yeah.
Yeah, the note said, during any practice session, any driver intending to create a gap in front of him in order to get a clear lap should not attempt to do this between the entry of turn 9 through to the exit of turn 10. Any driver seen to have done this will be reported to the stewards as being in breach of Article 27.4 of the sporting regulations.
So, yeah, I just think that the stewarding this weekend was very flip-flop.
Yeah.
There was no... I don't want them to rule with an iron fist, per se. I want them to judge racing incidents on a case-by-case basis. But when a situation like that happens, where you've clearly stipulated before anyone's even put a tyre on the track, don't do it, and then they all go and do it, penalise them. So...
No, I do agree. I do agree. Race... If we're talking about the stewards, we might as well get into the race.
Yeah.
Red Bull.
Red
Amazing
Bull,
race for
very
Max.
mixed weekend. Max led from lights to flag. Checo got a 10-second time penalty.
I feel like Max could probably just fit a cruise control button in that car now.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, that's about as comfortable a win as you can hope for, isn't it? So,
and that was a comfortable second for Perez if it wasn't for the incident as well, I would have thought.
I think as much as we criticised Albon in certain places for going for moves too soon and overtaking in the wrong situations, I think we need to do the same with Perez here. Because he clearly had the pace. You don't need to attempt it into turn 4. You especially don't need to attempt it around the outside where it's notoriously hard to pass and incidents have happened previously especially with the second Red Bull. So why take that risk? Why make that move? Even Christian Horner came over the team radio and was like, well, not the team radio, the Sky broadcast. He was like, yeah, it's a risky move. He shouldn't really have been out there. And we saw it later, where, I mean, Perez then forced someone else off, just like, oh, anything you can do, I can do better, because he actually hit Charles. But then we saw Lando trying for a move around Hamilton, but Lando used the magic second pedal and got out of the move and then passed into turn 5 or 6. So, you know, it's... Yeah, he shouldn't have made that move. If you're going to do it into turn 3.
Yeah,
Like,
if you
take the time and set it up.
If you're gonna do it, don't do it there. Especially with like your reserve driver has done the same thing and has failed it. Like,
in fairness, Alex was a lot further ahead.
yeah, but like you get the gist. Like,
Yeah,
your reserve driver has tried to do the same thing last year and that failed as well. So maybe take it as an incentive to just not.
Yeah, the outside of 4 is not a great overtaking place.
No, 'cause
inside, yes. Outside, no.
That's the thing. So everyone defends the inside like their life depends on it, because it's a downhill, and then it sort of, the camber shifts as you go through the corner, so it starts to spit you out. So it's just like, that's what's going to happen. And it's like, if you're gonna have to leave a car's width there, then the driver on the inside has then suddenly got to completely readjust his line.
Yeah.
Karun covered it on the Sky pad, and it's like, you're basically just saying, concede the place. Even if he's not in front of you, you have to concede the place, because you have to take such a tighter line. But yeah.
In terms of leaving racing room, that's always been a thing. It's a very unique incident to that corner that is quite difficult to leave racing room. But if they are alongside enough, which is front wing to rear tire, then you have to leave them a car's width. So that's why everyone always gets penalised there. Someone ends up off because you didn't leave the space. All the time you have to leave the space.
I think I've got that saved somewhere.
Yeah, Mercedes should have been more. Lewis did pick up damage. That's why they swapped the cars, and then he was powerless to defend from Lando.
It was the case of, it was the radio messages that we heard over the course of 3 laps. Now, I don't know what the actual time span was of the actual radio messages, because obviously we received them delayed, but it was like, you are not to overtake Lewis. McLaren being like, oh, Bottas has been told he can't overtake Lewis, so go and get them both. And then Bottas being told, okay, you can race Lewis, and then, okay, we're just going to swap the drivers now. It was just, it was comical.
I think the first call of let's not overtake was we're sitting quite comfortable. Then McLaren started closing in, so it's like, right,
hold on a minute.
Get a move on, boys. And then Norris was that close, so yeah, Lewis, just let him by. Just let him through.
Well.
Yeah, just epitomises Mercedes.
Yeah.
I just epitomises Mercedes at the moment. Just like complete contradictions. Don't know what they're doing.
No, I wouldn't say they don't know what they're doing, because
that was the right strategy call.
Yeah.
Eventually.
Race is a wise strategy call in terms of the championship. And if Norris is far enough back that you can just hold station, you're getting pretty much the maximum points they could have asked for the weekend, a 2-3. But then as Norris starts closing, it's right, race each other and get a jig on, like get moving. Then when it became clear that Lewis's car wasn't able to race because of whatever damage he got, it was right, Lewis, James sort of thing. So no, it was actually quite a smart strategy call from the team of that, let's go for the points, and then when they seen they couldn't get the points, right, just get up the road.
I just really wish there was like driver to driver radio. It's just like, Lewis, it's Valtteri.
This entire time, I'm just thinking, just like Valtteri and Lewis, just like staying in position, all nice. Then Lando just coming over, like, oh, hello there.
Comes
Oh,
around turn
hello
10 with an
there.
absolute
Yeah.
steamer on.
I've also noticed, because I've got the race result on here and it shows the drivers' numbers. From 1 to 7, they're either the same number or it's a single number. So it's like 33, 77, 4, 44, 55, 11, 3. It looks really satisfying. I don't know why. just
Damn
thought
Charles.
just thought I'd throw that
Ruins
out
it.
there. Yeah. I thought I'd just throw that out there. It looks really satisfying.
Mercedes. I mean, at the time, yes, strategy calls right. They, I don't want to say they were lucky to get P2, but if Norris hadn't had his 5 seconds, would they have got P2? Because they then could have tried. So they just pitted on the same lap as Norris because he had 5 seconds, so they were definitely going to get in front of him.
Yeah.
Bar a Monaco.
But also, if the thing between Lando and Checo didn't happen, would Checo have got P2?
I think, yeah, surely.
I think
Yeah.
that probably would have happened because then he wouldn't have been solo down to fight with Charles, have that 10-second penalty. So I think he probably would have got P2 had Checo and Lando not collided or whatever happened. I can't remember.
They never actually touched. That was the bit that annoyed me most.
That
It
moment.
was like there was no contact.
Yeah, just that moment between them.
It was the first of 2 incidents between Perez and Charles where it was at turn 4 again. There was contact, and I was thinking, well, that's stone wall. Then if they're going to give Norris 5 seconds, then they've got to give
set
Perez
precedent by that point. That's why it was such a quick under investigation.
5 seconds.
5 seconds.
Yeah.
It was like 43 seconds on the broadcast or something. It was dumb. When it took like 5 minutes for the first one to happen. Like, it didn't come up and we were like, oh, okay, cool, he's got away with it. They interviewed Christian Horner. He was like, oh yeah, it's a racing incident. FIA. Okay, we'll have a look. What?
I think that's like the one thing that annoyed a lot of people on like Twitter and everything was Andreas Seidel and Christian Horner both said it's just a racing incident. This like the Checo and Charles, I'm not exactly sure what they said, but Checo and Lando, they both said it's just a racing incident. Nothing should really happen from it.
But the problem is, it's not the team principals that matter.
Yeah.
It's the sporting directors.
They've got a driver steward, and that's the thing. It was Derek Warwick this weekend, and I was reliably informed. I say I was. We were told over the broadcast that if you'd gone to Derek when he was racing and said, "Oh yeah, if you're on the inside line there, you can't defend it. And if someone goes in the gravel, you're getting a time penalty, even if you don't touch them," he'd have laughed and said, "That's not racing." And now he's dishing out 5-second penalties for it. It's like, I don't know. You can't ask for hard racing, and then when someone takes a risk and bottles it essentially on their own, because they didn't touch, Norris didn't turn into him. I just feel like if you're going to ask for hard racing and then penalise a driver that's just held it, then you're setting a dodgy precedent, aren't you? So, yeah, that's why I didn't like it. I felt more comfortable with Perez's first one getting the 5 seconds because there was contact. Perez's second one,
That was a pretty easy penalty for me.
Yeah, it's not.
There was
great.
no space left.
No,
it was like
it's literally
gravel.
But at the same time, he had a snap of oversteer, and it's kind of like, well, okay, yeah, but at the same time, that's not great. You should have slowed it down a bit more then.
Yeah.
So
having a snap oversteer doesn't excuse you from.
No, exactly.
Like,
that means
putting
you've
another
taken
driver
too
in the
much speed
gravel.
into the corner.
Or if it wasn't Austria, possibly putting another driver in the wall.
Unless it's Paul Ricard, in which case he just takes a nice holiday.
Yeah, exactly.
But no, that's the thing. That's what people were saying. If an incident like that happened at Paul Ricard, there wouldn't have been a penalty because Perez would have just rejoined behind Norris. Even though it's essentially the same offence of not leaving a driver a car's width.
See, what they also said in the broadcast, though, is the Perez's race was ruined by a lot more than 5 seconds.
Agreed. Albon's race was ruined by a lot more than 5 seconds. If you're going to play
But
it by
then,
that,
would
I
you
don't
really-
think.
Would you really want to have seen a 10-second time penalty, a drive-through penalty for that one in Austria last year?
Honestly,
Because that's the range you're starting to get into after
yeah,
5.
exactly. That's the thing. If you're going to talk about it in terms of how much time he's lost compared to where he was, then is that what you're going to start dishing out retribution for? Because that's not going to work.
Well, you look at the Ferraris and Mercedes in 2018, where 2 races in a row, Ferrari punterinoed a Merc into turn 1. And it was like, well, their race has been ruined by like 45 seconds, but you're not going to hand out a 45-second time penalty.
In the end, it's probably worked out at more than 45 seconds, because not only have they gone to the back of the pack, they've then had to reset their entire race strategy. And they've got traffic to fight with that they otherwise wouldn't have. So it's, I don't want to get into the realms of you punted someone to the back, have a 20-second stop-go penalty, so you join them at the back. But at the same time, I don't want to penalise just hard racing. I want to see people go wheel to wheel. I don't want to see people in the wall, fine. But if someone takes a risk like Perez did on the outside, which Norris showed later in the race that you can clearly back out of, it didn't feel right, you know?
Should we move on to McLaren before this turns into like a 2.5 hour long episode?
McLaren,
because we've got 2 other races to cover, or series to cover.
McLaren is very much, again, a mixed bag.
But it was pretty good for Daniel, because this is like one of his best. I feel like, he did pretty well to come back up.
Daniel's doing what Albon did in the second Red Bull, of not qualifying very well, and then having a good race, and ending the race probably where he should have qualified.
Yeah.
So can we really say it was a great weekend?
But in Daniel's case, it's a new car. Alex wasn't really.
It was. I don't think you can say it's a new car on round 9.
Yeah, but like comparing Alex
we're
to
nearly
Daniel,
halfway through the season.
True, but like comparing Alex to Daniel, if we're talking about 2020, Alex already had a season under his belt before he started to become, I'm guessing how you say it.
Well, he had half a season.
I'd counter argue because you look at how he drove that Red Bull at the second half of that season, and he was really comfortable in that car. He got good results. And as soon as they went to pre-season testing, he was nowhere. So something happened over winter with the development of that car that didn't work for him. So I don't know. That's sort of my counter to that.
But like, we are seeing Daniel slowly coming up to speed.
But he's been in the sport for 10 years.
Yeah, but also I think he's had to change his braking style, I think, to fit the car. I think that was it. He's had to change that to fit the car.
It's round 9.
But it is round 9, yeah. But
if you're struggling, put more time in the sim.
Yeah,
we're nearly halfway through the season.
But we can see he is starting to come up where he should be.
Yeah, he's got race pace in the car. That's obvious.
Yeah.
But
he just needs to nail his qualifying. And until then, he is essentially doing what Albon did in the Red Bull.
Yeah.
So.
But last year as well, weren't McLaren basically like this, where they didn't qualify too well, but then made up loads of positions? It wasn't like that last year.
Norris nearly put it on pole.
Yeah, that's true. You've always got to look at the benchmark of your teammate. You look at the qualifying results between Lando and Carlos. They were always pretty close, unless someone had an issue. And over the course of the season, they were pretty much neck and neck. I think it finished like 12-10 or something like that in terms of qualifying results. I don't recall Danny out qualifying Lando so far. He might have done. I think it was like twice.
He has 3 times.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
There's Bahrain as well.
Even then, that's 6-3. Like
yeah.
And when you're looking at
the race
4/10 off pole,
doesn't
400ths off pole to not making it into Q3, that's a big difference.
But again, you got to look at it as like Lando was the McLaren young driver. He's had 5 years with McLaren, maybe 4 or 5 years with McLaren, and Daniel's got from January. So like, you got to see it that way, but you also got to see it as it's race 9 also. So like,
Also,
I mean,
he gets
to
paid
counter
enough.
argue that one,
he gets
He's been
paid
at
Look
Toro
at
Rosso.
Carlos
He's been at Red
Sainz.
Bull.
yeah.
Look at
Like,
then-
Alonso.
yeah, look at Alonso.
Yeah.
He took a year out of the sport, 2 years out of the sport.
Yeah,
He
and
was
was,
with-
chucking it in P3.
He was with Renault a lot last year. I'm not sure whether he did like
Yeah,
any
but he
sim
wasn't
work.
driving.
He wasn't
Yeah.
allowed to drive until
Oh.
the young drivers test.
Oh yeah.
I mean,
To
Alonso
be fair-
didn't drive until Abu Dhabi in December.
How do you do, fellow kids?
But
With
what about
Daniel,
the
it
sim?
doesn't really help that his teammates
Daniel's got
been
access to the
like
sim.
the second best driver this year.
Mm.
Yeah, it's definitely been Lando's standout year. We
Absolutely.
said he had a good season last year.
Mm.
I think we all would have said if we had a podcast at that point. And he scored 97 points last year. Admittedly, we
Yes.
only had 17 rounds, but we've had 9 races so far. He's on 101.
Yeah.
He's
Yeah,
he's smashed it out the park. He's
scored,
carrying McLaren like a backpack right now.
yeah, his average position is 5th.
Yeah.
I think.
He's
that's
had
really good.
mostly 5th places, 3 third places, and 1 8th.
Yeah.
he's had more podiums than Perez, who is in what's now a dominant car. By the looks of it.
So yeah, you've got to look at it by the fact of McLaren have 141 points.
Yeah.
Norris has 101 of those.
Yeah.
That's huge. So yeah, when you're looking at the fight for third, and Ferrari have 2 drivers that are semi-consistently scoring points, and generally when they score points, they both score points. Yeah, you need your second driver to start picking up.
But also, if we look at it as like Daniel Renault versus McLaren in his first year, he's doing a lot better than McLaren.
I
So-
feel like that's probably just the car, though.
It could just be the car, but also like it's like it's quite hard to like compare them and just Daniel on his own because like yeah.
I don't think you can justifiably put it down to new car or different car or whatever this far into the season. Like, the sim will have been firmed up as to how it would have been in February. He's had pre-season testing. He's had 9 Grand Prix. It's just unjustifiable at this stage.
So
He
let's say,
just has
let's
to
say
improve.
the average Grand Prix takes an hour and a half, and you've got qualifying as well. That's another, well, we'll call it half an hour of driving because they're not out for all of it. And then you've got 3-hour
practice,
slots
yeah.
of free practice. Let's say they run for
They're
half of
probably
that.
for about
That's-
45 minutes now, though. So
Yeah, true. That's a lot of minutes in the car.
yeah,
And he'll be putting in hours in the simulator outside of that, and you start
But
to
it's-
wonder what's not clicked,
But it's
because
also
he looks
less.
he's
it's
had
also-
points.
yeah.
where
It's
he's
also
looked like
less
it's done.
time than they used to
Yeah, definitely.
in years before. So like if
But
you
then
look at it within
they
like time
didn't
he's had
run
in the car.
for like the whole hour and a half. They probably
Yeah.
only ran for about 45 minutes last
Yeah,
year,
Yeah, but
which
if
is
you
why they shortened the sessions.
Yeah, but if you look at it like that, then you could technically say he's had maybe 1 or 2 races less, like Grand Prix less in the car, which again, 9 races in, that would be race 7. So like, yeah, but you could argue it that way, but also sim work and everything. So like, yeah,
Yeah.
But then they've only
the-
lost an hour of possible track time each weekend.
yeah,
Yeah.
When they get 7.5 hours each weekend,
mm,
It's
I-
not
I
a lot in
don't
the grand scheme of
know.
things. And like you said, they weren't all running at that point. They were basically just taking it in turns, so they all had a free track.
yeah.
So
And you always looked at it at about the 45-minute mark. Everyone went into the pits and came back out 15 minutes later.
yeah, it's
Which
like
is a
F2
big
qualifying.
Yeah.
But-
Pretty much. Anyway,
Uh,
Aston Martin,
no, Ferrari next.
Ferrari. Oh yeah, Ferrari. I forgot
Um,
they're good now.
double points finish.
Yeah.
Charles in 8th, Carlos in 5th. they did the team orders of the old swapperoo, because I think after Charles's second excursion into the gravel trap, he'd somewhat ruined his tyres. And Carlos was obviously faster and on the opposite tyre strategy.
Yeah.
So
Sainz is only 2 points behind Leclerc now. That's pretty impressive considering how much we were talking about all the new drivers to team struggling.
yeah, considering how everyone plaudits Charles as, you know, Ferrari's wonder kid, and Carlos is keeping up with him.
Yeah.
So fair play. That's a good effort. And like, it's not like we've had the team orders swap and then he's done a Bottas and not actually managed to get past anyone. He has gone past 2 people in front of him. So, you know,
then again, who was Bottas meant to pass?
I mean, like in races previous where they've had, I think it was it Italy, where it was like, oh yeah, Bottas can have a go, and then they were like, okay, yeah, now swap back because, you know, he let you through earlier. That's what I was sort of.
I think it was actually the other way about. It was Hamilton said to the team, I can have a go at, I think it was Seb. They swapped around. Hamilton didn't have a go at Seb and was like, right, I'll give Valtteri back the place.
Yeah, but you know, that's my point of like, they didn't swap it and nothing happened. They swapped it and it was beneficial. So
yeah.
But I mean, qualifying wasn't great.
They always seem to be qualifying P11 and P12 now.
I mean, in terms of strategy,
that just seems to be Ferrari's grid slot.
Yeah,
yeah,
I mean,
it's Ferrari's starting slot and Alfa's finishing slot.
in terms of like strategy, getting like P11, P12 is probably a bit better because they get free choice of tyre and like they're in the middle.
I think it suited them very well this weekend, given how quickly the softs went off.
Yeah.
And I feel like they probably would have needed a soft tyre run to get into Q3. So
yeah, it's going quite well for them with that strategy, because I swear Charles said something like that, is like they're aiming for Q2 so they can have like top of Q2 so they can have the free tyre choice, and they're like relatively where they would be anyway, really.
Yeah, you can do a lot with strategy when you're in 11th, especially on a weekend like this where you know the guys that have qualified just in front of you are going to have to make probably an extra stop. So in terms of strategy, perfect. In terms of where Ferrari as a sort of idolized brand and team should be, nowhere near. But better than last year. So, you know, it's baby steps. Yeah.
Moving on.
AlphaTauri.
AlphaTauri. Not a great weekend. Sonoda got himself a 10-second time penalty.
I mean,
the same
I don't like that pit entry anyway.
It's not a very good pit entry. But
it's stupid.
Just stay in the white lines.
But at the same time, you've driven the circuit before. You did it last weekend.
Yeah.
And didn't get that penalty.
Twice.
So why?
Yeah, isn't it like one of the few tracks Yuki's done before in Formula 2? Because it's Bahrain, Austria, and a couple of others, obviously.
I mean, it wasn't a good weekend for UK.
No.
Just doing the same thing twice in the same race.
Yeah, I think he's very lucky that Max had a very good weekend and Perez also screwed up, because I feel like Helmut Marko would have come down on him like a ton of bricks otherwise.
Yeah,
he probably still has, to be fair.
Yeah.
Sonoda now has 4 penalty points this season.
Has Mick got any?
I don't think so. I don't think Mick's had any penalties.
Has Mick actually got anywhere near doing anything? Well, he's raced people. Usually his teammate, and usually got forced wide.
And Latifi a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I don't think Mick has had any penalties. In fact, he wasn't even summoned to the stewards this weekend, and basically everyone was summoned to the stewards this weekend.
That's because Mick's a good boy.
Mick is Ferrari's new golden boy.
I mean, how could he not be, you know?
It's Mick.
Yeah. Gasly
Gasly finish?
started 6th,
Ninth.
finished
He's ninth.
9th.
Yeah, he qualified brilliantly again, but it was just
yeah.
starting on the softs ruined him
Yeah.
really.
Mm.
I think Gasly just had a really quiet race.
Yeah, I didn't really hear anything about Gasly.
He just
He
went round.
he just pitted early because of his softs, and then
Yeah.
just didn't
And
really
then
work
went
out.
long.
He
Yeah.
was he was the last car to finish on the lead lap.
Yeah, I didn't really hear
Well
anything
done,
about
Gasly.
Gasly.
Moving on.
Is it Aston Martin?
Aston Martin.
Oh,
So
dear.
Seb didn't finish, but still didn't finish last.
Mm.
And Stroll finished
and
13th.
Stroll finished 13th. So
Again, both of them started on softs. So
yeah, a pretty poor weekend for them.
It would have been all right for Seb, like the race. It would have been all right had Kimi not driven to him.
I don't know,
Yeah.
that's still P16.
Yeah,
No, it'd have been 12th.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, it would have been a lot higher.
It'd have been because
I think
they
he'd
were
been
just behind Russell.
10th.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
okay. Yeah, okay. Well, it's still 12th.
I mean,
you want to be
yeah.
gunning for points in an Aston.
Yeah. I didn't know where. I know it was like roughly 10th, but I didn't know whereabouts. But yeah.
Yeah, they were. Yeah, it was Russell that they were following because Russell was on the normal racing line, and then both of the drivers tried to converge onto the normal racing line, and neither gave.
We'll come on to Kimi's penalty shortly because it was a big one.
I mean,
It
it's
was
just kind of
actually
a
one
meh
of two
weekend
Kimi
for
penalties
Aston.
for the weekend.
I mean, they're
Um,
next.
yeah.
Oh no, there's Alpine next.
Alpine.
I mean, Ocon's got
poor
the
Fernando
weakest
in
weakest
qualifying.
wishbone known to man.
Ocon cost Alpine.
Ocon was out.
Ocon cost Alpine €400.
Ocon was out first lap of the race.
Yep, but he also cost Alpine €400 in FP3 for speeding in the pit lane by 3.5 kilometers per hour.
Naughty boy.
So there's a €400 fine for Alpine.
It's just such stupid numbers, isn't it?
Yeah,
Why just make it 500? Make it nice.
because it's a bit
Make
of a
it something
scale.
worthwhile. Like, there's
At
no
least,
point finding a team that spends £100 million, €400. But-
Agreed.
But they're on the
And
cost cap now,
since
so that
since
could be.
Ocon signed the new contract, he's just been
He's
crap.
been absent.
Why did
basically.
he DNF from the race?
His
Just got
wheel
sandwiched,
just
didn't
went.
he? Well,
"Huh."
Oh yeah, he's had contact with Giovinazzi, was it?
Giovinazzi,
He was in a sandwich.
and- he was in a Giovinazzi and Schumacher sandwich.
And the Giovinazzi side of the bread was somewhat harder than the filling.
Yeah.
It was so
Fernando-
unlucky though. It was very
Yeah.
light contact.
Mm.
Yeah,
But if it goes, it goes. So that was that. So that was Alpine. Alfa Romeo, Kimi time.
yeah. Kimi had a poor weekend. We
20
didn't talk about
seconds.
Fernando.
Oh yeah, Fernando. I mean, I feel like we've kind of covered Fernando already. He got screwed over in
Yeah.
qualifying, and that screwed his
Yeah.
race.
And then had a quiet race. Yeah,
But also,
Yeah.
damn you, Fernando! You stole George's point.
Yeah, even he said when he came up to the driver in P10, he was so sad seeing it was George. I think
that was
everyone
such a
just
good battle though.
yeah,
Just
everyone
stay
just
behind
ruined
him
the
then.
point.
Yeah, if he's that gutted about it,
Yeah.
let him get his point.
Everyone's just rooting for him to get points now.
Be
Like,
on the team radio. Sorry, this is George. I'm not going past.
Fernando, it's George.
So
No.
yeah, moving on to Alfa Romeo had a howler of a weekend. To kick things off in FP2, he cost Alfa Romeo €900 for speeding by 8.5 kilometers per hour in the pit lane. And then to round off the weekend, he earned himself a 20-second time penalty.
How many penalty points did he get?
For a
Probably one.
20-second time penalty, Kimi got 2 penalty points, and he now has 6.
a 20-second time penalty, and you get 2 penalty points.
This is what I don't get with these.
And
penalty
Norris got a
points.
5-second time
Yeah.
penalty and got 2 penalty
It's
points.
just like, how can
And
Lando
Norris
get the
didn't even
same?
touch Sergio Perez and got 2 penalty points. And Kimi absolutely clobbered Sebastian Vettel and got 2 penalty points. Do you see why I have issues with the consistency?
Or the Italian hands coming out.
of-
do-
the amount of memes I made during this race was not even funny.
I just don't understand these penalty points. Like, I mean, we've kind of covered Lando Norris, but how do you get 2 penalty points for that? How can Lando Norris be 2 penalty points from a race ban? I don't get it.
And sorry, I forgot. Giovinazzi got a penalty as well for being a bit of a fool
Who
during
didn't?
the safety car,
Oh yeah, he overtook before the safety car line, didn't he?
and
yeah,
he got
he entered the pits.
2
and then-
penalty points.
Yeah, he entered the pits, and then he passed someone because he was going to the pit.
Can we just point out, by the way, that Charles Leclerc avoided a penalty for ruining 3 people's races last week,
Yeah,
Yeah.
and yet, I just don't get it.
So the safety car was deployed, and Giovinazzi was like, "Yeah, I'll pit," and just drove past Alonso before reaching the first safety car line,
We have to email Franz Todd Rich again.
and got a 5-second time penalty and 2 penalty points.
Apart from this time, I need to have a word in Michael Massey's ear and tell him to get his together.
It's not Massey, it's the steward.
He's the boss.
No, he's not.
You go from the top down.
Always
We've
blame
got
Michael
Jean
Massey.
Todt. We've got Russia changed. We now go for Massey. We get the rules changed.
I don't care whose fault it is. We always blame Michael Massey. It's
Yeah.
like Mercedes fans just turning on James Vowles now for anything that goes wrong with strategy.
I mean, in some ways, that kind of is his job, though. So, whereas a lot of what happens with Massey is outside of his control.
Yeah,
It's
Massey's
just
control of
picking
things like the
someone's
safety car and things. He can say to the stewards, "Do you want to have a look?" But the stewards can also say no, or they can look at things themselves and be like, "Oh, that didn't look good." 30-second time penalty.
And 1 penalty point.
1 penalty point.
But this last year when we had Hamilton's yellow flag incident in qualifying at Austria, it wasn't until the next day and Red Bull went, "Hey, have you seen this 360-degree camera from F1's Twitter?" And they went, "Oh, new evidence." It's like, why don't they have that in the first place? Like, they say, "Oh yeah, we looked at video evidence," but did you look at all of it?
I think
It's
they
just-
look at what they
it's-
have available.
Yeah, but
surely they
Because
have that.
it just makes it look
available.
like
Things
a
like-
bit of a clown show.
Things like the 360-degree camera probably aren't broadcasting
No,
during the race.
that was uploaded later because they
But
can't.
surely
upload.
they'll be able to get access to it at some point.
After the
Yeah, I'm-
fact. But if they've already
Yeah.
made their decision, they don't
Yeah.
care. It's done.
A court can make a verdict, and then a police report can find new evidence, and it can go back to court, and
Yeah.
a different verdict can be made. Why can't the same be done with the FIA? It's pretty simple.
I mean,
Well,
Look,
I
we've
mean-
got new evidence that shows he actually did break the rules, so we're just going to give him the penalty.
wasn't that
Well, I mean,
proved
they
with
did.
Hamilton in the pit
I mean,
lane?
yeah, but it took Red Bull going to them, going, "Hey, have you seen this?" Like when they should just be doing it themselves. So that's the whole reason they're there. So do it.
do it
But
right.
yeah, Nia, you were going to say something about Hamilton and Lane.
Yeah, I was saying isn't that really what happened with Hamilton in the pit lane? Is they said they gave him a penalty and then they changed it afterwards. Something like that happened. I can't.
They gave him a penalty and I think 4 penalty points because it was
Yeah,
2
yeah.
each with 2 penalty points. And then they were like, "Wait, we actually retract the penalty points because the team went to the stewards and were like, yeah, we told them to do it." They're like, "Oh, okay."
That's another thing I don't like about the penalty point system is that the team went and it redacted all of them. At the end of the day, the act has still happened, and the penalty points are supposed to be dangerous driving, and that was closed to protect the stewards and marshals getting the car out. So how is it not still dangerous, and why is it not just have 2 penalty points instead of 4.
But then a similar argument could be made in terms of breaches of the technical regulations. Like, yes, it was the team, but the driver still drove it. So why does the driver not get deducted points?
Driver doesn't drive. Driver doesn't make the car.
The driver just does what the team tells him.
I'd hope the driver drives, because that's a job.
Driver doesn't drive the car.
I mean,
can we call
drivers don't
Mazepin a
drive
driver?
the car.
Drivers spin the car.
So yeah, Giovinazzi and Kimi not having a good week at the steward's office.
I mean, they had a nice
May
week
as well
at the steward's office. They spent enough time there.
They may as well just set up a bed and just be like, yep, we're sleeping here, waiting for our next penalty.
And that was their race. Pointless weekend. Moving on. Williams.
So close.
George
So close.
didn't get a penalty.
Heartbreak.
So close.
Latifi got a 30-second time penalty.
It's interesting how the
And
ones that got
3 penalty points.
Interesting how the ones that got time penalties and penalty points were the ones that weren't in the top 10, and therefore it didn't affect the result.
Yeah, I thought that. I was like, what did they do different?
Just saying.
Basically, they didn't slow down as much as the others,
Mm.
according to the FIA and
They were
telemetry
all
and
called in,
things.
so they obviously all didn't slow down that much.
They
so...
were all summoned, but so I'll bring up a comparison of Stewards documents. So let's
Because if you've been summoned,
Well,
it's
I
obviously
mean-
on the telemetry that you haven't slowed down enough. So at that point, why is it not just a stonewall penalty?
Giovinazzi didn't finish in the points. And here's what they said about Giovinazzi. Document 70. So they were like, the stewards accepted that the driver took appropriate action in the double waved yellow sectors. Is it? We compare this with Nicholas Latifi being handed a 30-second time penalty. And they said the stewards analysed the telemetry of the driver concerned, who did not slow down sufficiently for the double waved and yellow sector.
So if they've analysed the telemetry, but then said Giovinazzi's fine, why did they bother summoning him in the first place?
Yeah.
If you've got the telemetry, just dish out the penalties from the telemetry. Like, it's inconsistency.
Yeah.
I'll get the summons document and see what that says.
How is the driver meant to do anything, like, with not respecting double yellows? They're going too fast. How is the driver going to remember what speed they were going, what speed they're going before, and like, what's the driver going to do to defend themselves if they like not going to remember?
The team's probably got onboards from the camp,
because the team representative also has to go with them.
The team also have all their own telemetry as well.
Yeah,
because after Max's tyre exploded, they provided all of their telemetry to Pirelli.
So basically, the team have went, here's what we've got. He clearly slowed down. And the FIA go, cool. And Williams have went, here's what we've got. And the FIA have went, haha, no, 30-second time penalty.
So does that mean the FIA only have like those mini sector times? And he's gone fast enough in a mini sector to trigger their thought of he's not slowed down that much, but he's just slowed down at the scene and then gunned it afterwards.
I mean, that is possible. I don't obviously know exactly what they have.
They have GPS.
Yeah,
they've got GPS, but I don't think they've got all the same like throttle tracing and stuff that the teams will be able to just be like, there.
We've got it on the app.
I imagine they have quite a lot there. Obviously, like, not each individual steward has it, probably. But like, I imagine they have quite a lot, considering they're the FIA.
And also, if one of the other teams is like, we don't think he slowed down, they're probably going to summon them anyway and just be like, right, we've been told you didn't slow down. Prove you did.
Given that I can sit here in my chair with my phone in my hand and look at Mick Schumacher's throttle trace and how much brake pressure he's applying, why? Why do the stewards not have such information? It just seems a bit dumb, you know?
I just hope to
I
never
think
see
there's
a
obviously a
again.
big difference between what we get on the app and the actual like throttle tracing document and stuff that the teams have. But I've got some bad news for you, Alex, though, because as we're moving on to Haas, There's another stewards document.
DJ.
Yeah, I was
Khaled.
hoping
Another one.
the Mazepin 30 seconds would be forgotten.
Because
No.
Mazepin got himself a cheeky 30-second time penalty
Did he also get 3 penalty points?
and 3 penalty points.
Holy crow.
Whoa.
Consistency.
Consistency is key.
Basically, he didn't slow down, so he gets 30 seconds.
Yeah.
Because it should have been a 10-second stop and go, but it was on the last lap. So they don't make you do a stop and go. They just slap you with a 30-second time penalty.
That made a lot of difference
Well,
to his result.
Oh, yeah.
They don't let you do it
last.
anymore after Michael did a stop-go penalty in the pit lane on the last lap and won the race still. Iconic. They were like, what? No, disqualified. But he was like...
Kimi Räikkönen was lucky not to get a 5-second time penalty, considering that he got
The
3
iconic team radio.
We had
track
plenty
limits
of...
violations.
We
and
had
this
plenty
on
of
the same lap,
we
on
had
the same
plenty
corner.
of good Kimi radio, but at the same time, we also had Lando Norris impersonating Kimi when being told he had a 5-second penalty. For what?
For what?
So
Sorry, Kimi actually had 4 track limits infringements.
he should have another 5 seconds.
He should. Well, it gets referred to the stewards. In fairness, if you go wide at 9, you're probably going to go wide at 10. So if it was the same lap, they've probably just considered it as the same thing. Possible, but I'm not sure.
Who knows?
Yeah. And that concludes the Stewards Fest that was FIA Formula 1.
Woo!
Moving on to the Stewards Fest that was FIA Formula 3.
Oh,
Do we want to do standings?
Oh, yeah.
standings.
Standings, yeah. Nothing has changed in terms of what matters. Moving on.
Right.
Has anyone changed position?
I don't. I don't think they have, to be awfully honest.
So same as last week.
No, Danny Ricks moved up 1 to 8th.
Okay, Danny Rex in 8th. Who's in 9th now?
Gansley.
Sorted. Because Formula 3 is going to take a while to talk about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I told you it was going to be a mess. I mean, I didn't tell you two because you weren't here, but I told those two because they were here. So
This may end up being our longest episode. Whoa.
I don't think we can beat 2 hours. That'll take
Oh well,
some
we
time.
might. We might get 2 hours and
Bet.
1 minute.
an hour 59:59 was where I accidentally managed to trim it down to, and then it didn't work on the Spotify upload at first, but we fixed it eventually. Shout out to my mate Matt for pointing out that only the first half of the episode had uploaded. I knew that.
So F3, 3 great races, to be honest.
I mean, it's F3 never really fails to deliver.
In race 1, we had a driver get disqualified for failing to respect a black and orange flag. Now, for those of you who are unaware, the black flag with an orange disc means you have a technical problem. Pit immediately. And they just didn't. So they got disqualified. Which is fair enough. And that driver was Iwasa for High Tech.
I mean, it's pretty simple, isn't it? Like, follow the rules.
Yeah, just pit.
At the same time, I said it last week. There should have been a black flag with an orange disc for one of the drivers because their front wing was literally hanging on by a thread and then flew off. So, if that doesn't constitute a black flag with an orange disc, what does? So,
in fairness, the reasoning for the black flag with an orange disc is a bit harsh. It was a broken onboard camera. That is why he was summoned to the pits.
Wow.
Here we are. We've moved on from Formula 1 stewards documents to looking at the ones with a lovely Formula 3 logo on the top. During the hearing, the team representative stated that they had an issue with onboard camera since qualifying. and were informed that the issue should have been resolved during race 1. And after being showed the black and orange flag, the team tried to contact the race director to discuss the necessity of the flag, but there was technical problems and they couldn't.
If in doubt, follow the flags, you know?
Yeah, which is basically what the steward said.
Yeah.
Having heard the justification, the steward said,
It's-
yeah, you just have to follow the flags.
It's not an excuse. If you can't talk to someone to verify something, you go with what you're told.
Yeah.
So.
Or what you can clearly see on the track is
Yeah.
your car number followed by a black and orange flag. Just pit.
Yeah. So
I kind of see why for an onboard camera, but also there's multiple cameras on the car.
is it more or less harsh than the Frecker disqualification for the nut that was incorrect?
Oh yeah,
I would say it's more harsh because it,
yeah.
well,
Even
sorry,
if it was,
the Frecker one was definitely more harsh for a washer being incorrect.
yeah,
But in terms of the reasoning for the flag, it's more harsh. Like, as an onboard camera. Come on.
yeah. In F3, they don't have the one on the top and the one at the side, do they? They just probably have the one on the top.
I think that's why I think the onboards are considered safety critical.
Yeah,
Because in the event of a large accident, they can
Yeah.
see what's going on in the car using an onboard camera.
Yeah. I was gonna say if it was like the one at the top, they have the one at the top and the one on the side on F1 cars, but I don't think they have it on F3 cars. So for me, an onboard is the one at the top. So like that kind of
Yeah.
makes sense.
The T-cam
Mm.
Yeah,
rather than the over the shoulder.
yeah. I don't think
That is a
F3
cool
cars have
shot
that.
on the F1 car, like looking
Yeah.
through the halo, but at the same time, you wonder how many cameras they've got.
However, Formula E does have a better camera than that, and that's driver's eye.
Yeah,
Yes.
No, the best camera that exists in the Formula Series is Formula E with driver's eye.
yeah.
That's just by far the best camera that's around. So race 1 we did disqualification, and did we have any time penalties? We did.
Oh.
Okay, so
We had a few. One was a grid penalty for the next race, which is weird to have awarded in a race. It's like an incident in race 1, and they got a grid penalty for race 2. It's just
I mean,
odd to see.
we've seen similar stuff happen before, where
Yeah.
an incident in a race results in a grid penalty for the next race weekend.
Yeah.
So, I mean,
Jack Crawford got a 5-second time penalty for leaving the track and gaining an advantage. Alexander Smollier got a 5-second time penalty for forcing car 10 off the track, which is coincidentally Jack, who got a 5-second time penalty already. And finally, for race 1, Kalen Williams got a 5-second time penalty for causing a collision. Yay.
Didn't Arthur Leclerc DNF in this race or not?
He did, I believe, because I'm pretty sure he started 27th in the next one.
Yeah, didn't he DNF in 2 out of 3 of the races?
He had a big crash in the third one.
Yeah, yeah. So,
was
Yeah, he
not
only
his
completed
weekend.
12 laps.
Yeah, no, because he was trying to go past Martin's, however you pronounce it, wasn't he? And he got
Martin.
caught in the grass and then basically collected Novalak, wasn't it?
yeah,
That was a big
yeah.
incident.
They both looked like they were a bit injured
Yeah.
walking away.
Yeah.
So,
But apart from that, the racing was so good. Bearing in mind, like, it reminded me of karting, just the way everyone was constantly changing. It was brilliant. I mean, why can't F1 cars follow that closely? That's what I'd
Yeah.
say.
Formula 2, not Formula 2, that's Silverstone. Race 2 was another great race. Major point from the stewards room was an interesting one, so I'll actually bring the document up.
Right.
It was a breach of the technical regulations which did not lead to disqualification.
Inconsistency. I'm not for it.
It was a fine of €7,500, which is quite a lot in Formula 3.
oh god.
I'm sorry. What they're finding Formula 3 teams over 10 times as much as they define a Formula One team. What's going on here?
And they've also had a rear part plank to be used by car number 1 reduced by 2. So basically they put
Document 69.
I was waiting for someone to say that. I was like,
At least
I read
didn't
it. I was,
disappoint.
yeah, I was like, someone's going to say it.
I read it.
I'd
I was
be
like, a
serious.
number. I just didn't clock it was that number. It shows you how late it is. I just don't clock funny number.
So yeah, basically they didn't disqualify them because they feel that a future advantage is mitigated because of this mistake that they already made. But it's a very strange one. They took a part from car 2, handed it, and installed it on car 1.
I thought it was pretty much a spec series anyway.
Yeah, but so large fine for Dennis Hauger's team.
Didn't he win the race?
He won the first one from like 12th, didn't he? And then
I know he
had to be on
won
pole.
one of them.
Don't think he won the second one.
No, he didn't. And then he was on
No.
pole and came second, I think, the feature. But he was the standout.
He was
by a long-
third. And he was only 5/10 off Frederick Vesti in second.
He was on the podium in every race.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was brilliant.
He got a 1, 2, 3.
Yeah.
Congrats. He got
And
the trifecta.
then race 3 was even more chaos. Lots of penalties. So we won't go through them all.
It's just Leonardo
Apart
DiCaprio
from-
raining money, but the money is just FIA time penalties.
Well, like
Yeah.
Haas tweeted out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Apart from Arthur Leclerc's, if I can find it, because that's quite... What number is Leclerc again? 2?
Kramer, so it's
2 or
must be-
3. I think it's 2.
Gonna be 2, I think.
Yeah.
Because Leclerc
Caldwell's 3.
also got a 3-place grid penalty, but for
The next race he
whenever
takes
we
part in.
next have Formula
Yeah.
3. Because he absolutely yeeted 2 cars.
Budapest,
Oh, that's quite some time away.
end of August.
Yeah.
End of July, start of August. Sorry.
Yeah. So basically, Leclerc yeeted 2 cars and got a 3-place grid penalty and 2 penalty points. And he now has 4 penalty points. It is worth noting, though, that F3's penalty points work slightly different. They
Yeah.
are season to season rather than 12 months.
12 months. Yeah.
Yes. And they also, if Leclerc gets promoted to F2, they
get
go away,
wiped. Yeah.
which makes sense.
Well, yeah, he didn't commit the crime in that category, so.
So you're off the hook.
Mazepin.
Yeah.
Would be banned by now if that didn't happen.
Oh, yeah.
So, throwing it out there.
And that concludes Formula 3. It delivered.
Mhm.
Once again, it delivered. And finally for this week, W Series.
Jamie Chadwick won.
She bossed it.
Exception.
Yeah,
Yeah.
she led. She basically got a grand slam for a W series, didn't she?
It was just like she was just out in front chilling, but it wasn't chilling because it was just purple lap, purple lap, purple lap.
Yeah.
It's just like, okay, calm, please.
I have 2 complaints about W Series. One, Channel 4 can't decide what channel they're putting it on.
Yes.
Yeah,
Last weekend it was more 4, and this weekend it was
Yeah.
actual Channel 4. So my recording didn't pick it up because it changed channel, which is annoying.
one thing that
And they only show the race. You need to go to YouTube to watch qualifying and practice.
yeah
Yes.
that annoys me. Like
And it's on different channels.
yeah,
Yeah.
or just put it all on W series YouTube, like everything and
Yeah,
the
'cause-
race and everything.
I think
Yeah, like
practice
Jessica,
practice was on the W Series YouTube channel. Qualifying was on Channel 4
Channel 4.
Motorsports YouTube channel. And then the
Yeah.
race was on Channel 4.
Just pick one.
And my other complaint is I don't like the purple graphics. They're
I've
really
gotten-
distracting.
I've gotten used to them, but they're quite.
I mean, at
distracting.
least they stand out from
Like-
everything else.
Because
Like,
I'm
you
that
know it's
used
W
to
Series.
all of the Formula One feeder series having
Yeah.
the nice, sleek black graphics. But it's just that mix between you're expecting the Formula One graphics, but then they're purple.
Mm.
And when you move up a position, you get a yellow square, which usually means you're going slow
Yeah, yeah.
rather than a
Yellow.
green square.
Yellow is the downward arrow for you've lost places.
Hmm.
on the
Whereas
Formula One.
when they drop a place, it's still red, like in Formula One. It's like,
But it
please
kinda,
just follow the same color suite.
it makes sense why they put it as yellow, because like their color scheme is purple and green. But at
Yeah.
the same time, I noticed some of the squares, I think they've been like kind of grayed out. They weren't as bright as the rest of them. Like some of
Yeah.
the numbers, I have no idea why.
It's like they're in the pits or not in the pits.
Yeah, like I remember Jamie Chadwick was in like third or something. Her number was grayed out, and then like Alice Powell's was as well, and then
Mm.
like no one else was. I was like,
Like, please fix your graphics, W
Yeah.
Series. Just use Formula Ones. You're an F1 feeder series for a reason.
Well, I mean, can we say that now? They're a support race for sure, but can we say they're a
Yeah.
feeder series until they've actually fed?
Well, they get super license points.
they get super
so
points, yeah.
anything that gets super license points, I think, can be considered a feeder series.
Don't
Apart
you
from
get?
IndyCar,
I was going to say IndyCar, you get super license points,
with the
but
exception of IndyCar.
I don't know.
Um,
I
and
will.
Formula E, because that's a world championship.
Yeah, I will hesitate to call it a full-blown feeder series until Jamie
Mm.
Chadwick gets an F1 drive. Because let's be real, after her performance this weekend, she's just going to walk away with it.
She did go in Frecker in 2020 with Prema. She didn't do too well because she was with Arthur Leclerc and Jean-Luc Petikov, and in the Prema, Petikov and Leclerc 1 and 2. Petikov obviously won. They 1 and 2, and Jamie I think had was 6th or something, maybe even lower in a Prema. So
But that's a 30-car field.
true. I think
So,
in her last
There's still
race,
plenty of drivers she's beating there.
yeah, I think in her last race she got 6th. I don't know why I remember this, but I remember Arthur Leclerc drove into her and she got 6th, I think.
Well, I mean, a bit like last week at W Series where she got yeeted into turn 1 and then actually quite a good
Yeah.
recovery drive.
Yeah.
But then
Safety car definitely helped, but
Oh yeah. Yeah.
with W Series, obviously not a lot of women drivers, so not a lot of them have very much experience. Obviously, there's people like Alice Powell who's won 2 championships. I'm not exactly sure in what, but a lot of the grid have some of the grid. It's their first Formula series.
sorry, yes, that's the one thing I forgot about. That's my third complaint about W Series. The gulf in quality in the field is massive.
Yeah, the
Spoke about Formula 1 and Formula 1.5.
yeah.
This is a spec series.
Yeah.
So
The youngest just turned 18, I think, Saturday before the race, and the oldest is 31, I think. Kymmelainen, yeah. I'm not sure how to pronounce the youngest name. I know she's from Russia, but I'm not sure how to pronounce the name.
Oh,
I don't
well,
wanna butcher it.
Sidlkova.
That's it, yeah. So,
Yeah, Irina Sidlkova. Yeah, she got P2, didn't she?
Yeah, I was actually, I think she get on the podium.
yeah, but and there's Jessica Hawkins, who's a stunt driver, who had to leave to become a stunt driver, so she has more experience in that, and has now come back to Formula racing. So obviously they had to fill out the field some way or another, but also there's a lot
Surely
of
there's
change
18
experience.
drivers that they can get of similar quality.
That's what annoys me. 18. There's
Mm.
9 teams.
Yeah.
They have
Can we have 10, please?
they have like 5 reserve drivers. Make another
Just-
team, put 2 of them in.
Yeah. Make another 2 teams. Get 4 of them in.
One of
Give
the
them seats.
One of the presenters, I can't remember her name. The presenter from South Africa, she's a reserve driver. Naomi something. I'm not sure I pronounced the last name again, but she's a reserve driver as well, and she's a presenter.
And you've got David Coulthard doing commentary, which is
Yeah.
interesting.
Yeah.
Slowest time in quali was a 1:30.3. Fastest time was a 1:28.9.
And aren't these supposed to be F3 cars?
The F3 chassis, yeah.
Yeah. They're not. They're like
They've got
They're
their
more-
own aeros because they don't have DRS.
Yeah, they're more like Formula Regional level.
All right, well, Freca, yeah.
Yeah, they're more like Freca level because they're Formula 3 spec, but not the same engines. They have Alfa Romeo engines, and then Freca obviously have Alpine. So
Not about the same in terms of qual.
Well, given the crack in Chadwick's turbo in the first qualifying ruined her qualifying, I think we'll go with about the same quality. God.
Yeah, no, it's.
But it was good
interesting.
racing in the rest of the field. Just Chadwick's in a league of her own.
she was like
Yeah.
10.
I would
5,
like to
10
see
seconds
a
ahead of everyone.
genuine, like, fight at the front.
There kind of was one last week for the podium, I think.
I mean, there was last week when Chadwick was fighting her way
Yeah.
back through the field, but that was because Chadwick was fighting her way back through the field and she wasn't at the front already.
She also benefited. It's getting late. She also benefited from the safety car a little bit.
I mean, yeah, very much so, because she was, the traffic was very much strung out. So it was like you have to catch, and then you have to line up the pass, and then you have to pass. And in those cars, it's more difficult because you don't have the DRS assistance. So it was pretty much turn 3 dive bomb and hope. So, but yeah, the safety car definitely helped her because it just grouped everyone back up, and she can just start making moves rather than working on closing gaps. But yeah, no. In much the same way that we've said that Gregoire Saucy is going to run away with the Freca title, I think Chadwick's going to run away with the W Series title.
Yeah.
Even if she is only like 2 points clear at the minute.
But she did have basically a Grand Slam, and she probably would have last week as
but
well.
then again, if there's only 8 races.
Was it a Grand Slam? Did she bleed
She
every...
got pole position. She led every lap.
And
Did she
was
top
fastest in
practice?
Yeah.
Oh, well, in that case, yeah, it's a Grand Slam.
So,
but there's no pit stops. So
I mean, same with like sprint races in Formula 3, Formula 2. So
yeah.
But,
and that's the one. Can we have more races? The other feeder series are giving us like 3
Yeah,
races a
that's-
weekend.
Yeah.
feels a bit anticlimactic, especially seeing as the race is on a Saturday.
Yeah. Even just race on the Sunday. Follow Formula 1. Do practice on the Friday, qualifying on the Saturday, race on the Sunday.
It would make sense. But yeah, I don't know. Obviously, they've done it for a reason, but
Or even just have practice and do, I think, what Formula 2 used to do, practice and qualifying on the Friday, race on the Saturday and race on the Sunday.
Yeah.
I think.
yeah, they do sprint race
or add a
Saturday,
second
feature race
race, yeah.
Sunday.
Yeah, just do that, because that'll be
I mean,
more beneficial.
Freca even managed to have 2 races a weekend.
And we all
that
say that's
just-
carnage because there's
I mean-
33 cars.
It sounds like we're taking a dump on W Series, which we're not. It was actually quite a good race.
It was very good racing. It's just we want to see more of it.
We
It is
want to
just
see
the
more,
second-
and we want to see
yeah.
it better.
It is
Yeah.
the second season, so they're still obviously ironing out details and everything, like trying to see how everything works. But these are just some criticisms we could put in.
Especially when you're looking at a series like W Series is looking to try and get exposure.
Yeah.
Nobody's hanging around after qualifying to
No.
watch W Series. Race on the Sunday, You'll get people that have turned up early or have tuned in thinking it's going to be Formula One, but oh, it's W Series. Oh, it's racing. Oh, it's close. I'll stay and watch. So, you know, more people will
And
tune
you
in for a
have
race on a Sunday than will tune in to stick around for a race after Saturday qualifying.
You have the problem as well of that they've joined the Formula One circus. They are going to be directly compared with Formula 2, Formula 3 and FRECA. FRECA, it was also their first year as a Formula One support series on the Formula One card. And they knocked out the park with their 6 races. They were outstanding.
Yeah, but also they were already a certified support series, just under a different name.
Yeah,
really.
it was technically a different championship.
Technically, yeah, but
Because
like
it was the amalgamation of 2 championships to create FRECA.
yeah, but they were already both established championships. They'd just come together with W Series, brand new, only the second year. So like,
Guess what I would say then is don't rush into the Formula One circus.
I mean,
It's-
but
but
also
if
it gets
Formula
more
One come to
exposure.
you and say, hey,
Yeah.
do you want to come and join us? You're not going to
If
say
Formula
no.
One come to you and be like, yeah, equally if they've went to Formula One and be like, we think we can do this in Formula One, well, yeah, go for it. They have to be ready.
Yeah, I mean, it is more
Um,
exposure for them, but I think
You
obviously
can
they are
maximize
just
that. Yeah.
they are just
Yeah.
trying to like get
My-
everything sorted.
My
but, like,
genuine worry is that they've went too quickly in joining Formula One. Because Formula One is the premier motorsport category.
I feel like they can do okay. They just need to keep improving.
Yeah.
What they've got is a solid foundation. They now just need to iron out the tweaks.
Yeah.
I mean, that's gonna come with like more seasons.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So it'll come with, for the 2022 season, we're going to change the Saturday race to be a 25-minute plus 1 lap sprint race, and the Sunday race to be a 45-minute plus 1 lap feature race.
Yeah.
That's all it takes. You know,
I think it'll be interesting to see if they're invited back to be with Formula One next year.
I'll be gutted if they aren't.
I
Yeah.
imagine they would be, considering it's like they want more women in motorsport.
Mm.
And like
We
it's
Racers
exposure.
won.
We Racers won, yeah.
We Racers money.
And B, if they do make any changes for next season.
Again, I imagine they would.
Yeah.
Just to...
I mean, they make changes to every other championship year on year, don't they?
Because, yeah.
Like this year,
feel
we've
like-
got sprint qualifying in Formula One. This year, we've got 3 races a weekend for Formula 2 and Formula 3.
This
Hell,
year we've
not
got
just-
teams for
Not
got-
just this year, we've got sprint qualifying for Formula One. In next weekend, we have sprint qualifying in Formula One.
Next race weekend. I'm just going to
Yeah.
add that caveat.
Well, I normally say this
Don't confuse the
weekend is the
listeners.
weekend coming. Next weekend is the weekend after that. So it's not this weekend, it's next
Now,
weekend.
now
So
we're
it's
getting into
next
semantics of-
weekend.
We're getting into semantics of
Next time we go racing.
Yeah, just say that.
next race weekend.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it's not even next time we go racing because we've got Formula E this weekend. We're going to New York.
Nobody listens to that.
We're going to New York for FIA Formula E.
It's ironic because that whisper was probably about as loud as the cars.
So it's another double header. Tune in on the BBC or whatever your local broadcaster is. And if you don't have one of them, YouTube. Because Formula E are nice and give us races for free.
Not anymore. They don't post them on YouTube anymore.
Yeah, not in the UK because we've
It's,
got
yeah,
the
it's,
BBC.
it's territory
Oh,
dependent.
Yeah, it is like what 10:20. I'm tired.
Yeah. So, well, as was revealed a few weeks back when we had a massive episode, we'll talk about 2 sets of Formula E races next week.
Which means I need to watch 2 sets of Formula E races.
Yes.
Yes.
You have 4 Formula E races to watch.
Excelente.
Oh, I forgot about that.
Wait, or is it only 3? Mexico might have only raced once.
No,
I'm
they
not
raced twice.
Oh, they raced
Call
twice.
yourself a fan. Don't even know how many times they went racing.
God, Chris, get it right.
Oh, some are single and some
So
are
much for
double
being the
headers.
Formula E representative of the Turn 5 podcast. Stick to your
Um,
Steward Docs.
And
Got enough of them.
so next week we'll have Formula E, and we'll also be talking F1 2021 game because that releases next
Thursday, Friday.
Friday for normal access. Next Tuesday for early access.
That's the if you pre-order the deluxe edition, you get the 3 days early access. If you just pre-ordered the game, Friday.
Which I will shamelessly admit I did.
So
I
did
already
I.
have.
So I'll be playing a week on Tuesday. Which means when this podcast comes out, I will already have completed my first races on F1 2021.
I probably will not have, probably because I'll have been either A, editing this, or B, uploading it, and I don't want to make my internet go any slower by playing a game.
Yeah.
So I'll probably be playing Mario Golf, which is actually lit. Just going to throw that out there.
But
Wait,
yeah,
what was the date for it coming out? Because
16th/13th, depending on what version you pre-order. If you want to spend £70, the 13th.
If you get EA access,
okay,
which is 20 quid a year, you get £10 off your pre-orders.
I will be
10%
home.
off your pre-orders.
I will be home from Goodwood then, because Goodwood is this weekend.
So Nia's going to be slacking off next week, eh? So
I will have seen the 2021 Aston Martin in
but
real life.
are you going to be here to tell us about it?
Yes, I'm coming back Sunday night, so yes I am.
We can get the lowdown. We can add Goodwood to the
can.
list.
It's a 5-hour journey to Goodwood.
Hey,
Well-
you're the one that lives in Wales. It's not Goodwood's fault. It's where Goodwood is.
It's not my fault my parents decided to live here. What? I've downloaded every single Sherlock episode in preparation for the 10-hour journey.
We will discuss Goodwood as well next week.
Yeah.
That's all broadcast on YouTube as well, isn't it?
I have
It was
no
last
idea.
year.
I think it
I
was
the year before.
2 years
I
ago.
think
yeah.
so.
So
Is there something on Sky about Goodwood as well?
Yeah.
trust her to be Sky. So. But yeah, no, I'm sure I remember seeing it on YouTube. So if in doubt,
Yeah, there's
check
like
out YouTube. There's probably a live stream on the Goodwood Festival
Yeah,
of Speed channel.
I think they
This raises a big question. Who's going to drive the Mercedes at Goodwood? Because they always take a Mercedes.
yeah.
It's
could
usually
be
the reserve driver.
Anthony
But
Davidson.
De Vries and
yeah.
Van Dorn are in New York.
Anthony Davidson.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
He's the only other driver that's driven that car.
Mm.
It's Hamilton,
Ocon.
Bottas, Davidson.
Yeah.
Maybe Bottas can practice.
Second gear.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Second year starts.
I mean, they all do donuts at Goodwood
Yeah.
anyway, so
Yeah,
I mean,
He's got
they could
practice.
they
You
could
said
send
last week
Esteban
there's a time
again.
and a place. This is it.
this is
St. George.
Could send George.
I know confirmed the Lando and Daniel, Alex Albon, Jamie Chadwick, Jessica Hawkins.
Are those first three names going to be in Formula One machinery, though?
What were the first 3 names?
Lando, Dan, and
Lando, Dan, and
Lance.
Alex.
Oh, Alex. You didn't mention Lance. Lance is in the 2021
Lance, yeah, Lance is
Aston.
there as well. Lance definitely driving the Aston. Lando and Daniel, I have no idea. Alex, I have no idea.
I was gonna say because Danny's got that bet on if he gets a podium, he gets to drive Zach's number 3. So
Yeah. No, he gets to have it. I thought he has it. Yeah. I think they might do what Lando did in like 2018, is they drive like old cars, like Indy cars or whatever it was, Can-Am. I don't know.
Yeah, I'd imagine they do something like that.
Yeah, I know Lando and Daniel are definitely confirmed, and I think Alex is as well, and Lance.
I just want to go.
But yeah, so that wraps up this week's episode of the Turn 5 podcast. Thank you all very much for watching or listening on your platform of choice. And we shall see you all next week for what will finally be our first non-race week in a while. Yay!
Well, you say that I got Formula E.
it's Formula
Yeah,
E,
you know what I mean.
and
Formula E race
we've got
was-
to do Silverstone predictions.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's not a race
Wait,
review.
we didn't talk about our results for our predictions.
Oh God, yeah.
Oh, what a shame! It's 10:25.
So Chris is in last on 34 points. Alex above him on 39. Then it comes Ben on 40, Nia on 41, and tied at the top is myself and Sonia, both on 50 points. So that comes after a weekend of the maximum score was 7, scored by Ben. who got P1 and P2 on the podium correct and in the correct place, and the correct pole sitter. So, Mazepin bingo. Nia won that one for saying that he would finish the race, get lapped on lap 25, which indeed he was, and was joint closest with everyone else because we were all 1 lap out. We either all said 1 or 3, and he finished 2 laps down. So, yeah, no, there it is. Bold predictions. Alex, a 70% chance for rain for the race, but no rain.
Wow.
I was trying to find a picture on my phone that said there was a 75% chance of rain at 2 p.m. on Sunday. So I'm giving you that one.
I'll go onto the F1 app just now and see what the official FIA chance of rain
No,
was.
I'm still.
And
I don't care what the official
WTF
one
one
said.
tweeted-
I
WTF one
saw
tweeted on Friday. There
You
was
sound like
70%.
You sound
Yeah,
like a
it's-
teacher just trying to stop an
it's
argument. I
what-
don't care what you
it's
say.
what the official
I
chance of
don't
rain
care
is at
what
the
the
start
FIA
of the
say. Michael
session.
Massey probably
not
made it up.
fussed. Not fussed.
It really sounds like a teacher trying to dispute an argument.
Ben, yours took exactly 3 corners to happen. That was a safety car. So, yeah, that one happened. Chris, rain. No.
The risk of rain for the F1 race was 60%.
No, I'm
no, I saw
claiming it.
75%.
WTF1 is the most reliable source.
Yeah, I saw 75%. That's what I'm taking.
Race
So,
control disagrees.
I don't care what race control says.
nobody listens to the Steward
Give me 2
documents.
penalty points.
Yeah, no one
man.
listens to the stewards anyway.
Risk of rain for
Um,
F1 race 60%.
my prediction of Alfa Romeo score a point. No.
No.
Thanks, Kimmy. I mean, they were outside anyway, but
Yeah,
thanks,
exactly.
Kimmy. And Nia with George in Q3.
Yeah.
It's pretty solid.
Yeah.
So,
I read that. And unexpected DNF. Ocon. Yes.
I mean,
kind of.
yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, you put yourself, you put your card
Yeah,
out.
you're
going to
claim that everyone that DNFs is unexpected.
Well, I count unexpected expected DNF.
Seb.
If they've
So I
been...
didn't know he DNF'd
Yeah.
until well after the
Seb
race had
w-
finished.
Seb was classified.
He
Yeah.
got a DNF on the app.
Yeah, I count an expected DNF as if they've been struggling for a couple of laps, then they come into the pits. For me, if they come into the pits, that's expected.
So basically, someone crashes.
If someone
Yeah.
crashes, basically,
I'm sorry, that is
Well, actually,
definitely
if
I-
someone,
I will raise the counter argument of if it's Mazepin or Latifi, it's not unexpected.
Mazepin not unexpected. Mazepin's expected, but no. But if they
So,
retire on the side of the
basically,
track, or if they crash,
What we are,
This is why my mate called it out. He was like, "That's rubbish."
yeah,
It's not a
what we're
bold
establishing
prediction.
here is your bold prediction is someone will crash or someone will break down. We're putting the kibosh on that here. That
unexpectedly.
is not being allowed for Silverstone.
Fine,
That's
okay.
why I crossed out yours and just put the George Q3 one.
Yeah. I
So,
mean,
you brought it up. I
I
wasn't going to say
predicted-
anything.
I predicted George into Q3, so
Stewards have banned it forever now.
yeah.
Race control has
I mean, who listens to the
3
stewards
penalty
anyway?
points.
Who listens to the stewards anyway? The drivers didn't in
The
Austria.
teams.
Team
And you can't-
representative has come down and verified that that is indeed an
And you can't give me
unacceptable
penalty
bold
points.
prediction.
You can't give me penalty points on my license because I don't have one. Okay.
We'll delay it. We'll defer your penalty points until you receive your provisional license.
12 point
on the
an
way.
episode ban.
My
And a
provisional's
trip
on
to
the
the High
way.
Court.
But thank you very much for watching. We are actually going to wrap up now because it is 10:30.
Outro 2.
Yeah.
Um, and we shall see you all next week. Ta-ra for now.
Bye.